Mr. Marvin Stammel, we have kind of dropped the ball on you today. We were out wheeling in the trail, and I told you to come over around 5, and a little late.
That was a 30-minute ball drop, so not
Yeah.
that big of a deal.
Well, I apologize for that.
That's all
But
good.
welcome to the RDF podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I should say, I've been watching the 24-hour Hell and Backs for a very long time.
Appreciate it.
It's a very cool channel. I love what you guys do with that. The pink helmet always cracks me up. It gets me going every single time.
Yeah.
Couple of my racing buddies have been on there, so it's been cool to see them on there. The Matt Myrick, he's one of the regulars, so that's really cool.
Yeah, we're always trying to have like a good selection and a good variety of vehicles. So, most Hallenbacks really feature from rock bouncer to ultra 4-car to regular Jeep on 40s, all the way to street Jeep on 37s, and just like build a wild mix of that and see where that gets us.
That's super. It's been a very interesting adventure every single time, for sure.
Yeah.
So how did that all start for you? Like, where did this all come together?
The whole YouTube stuff in the first place, like back up all the way pretty much, is pretty much COVID. COVID time is what kind of kicked it off for me. I've been in the off-road industry for over 15 years. Did a helmet and apparel brand with my dad for many years, Axle Off-Road, which is still out there, still doing stuff and whatnot. But dad, we eventually, the whole father-son working together thing, eventually I just couldn't do it anymore. So we did that for a long time. Then we got into the show business, did unlimited off-road show and expo all over the country. So big off-road expos in Texas, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Nashville, Atlanta, so very much all over the place. And when COVID hit, that kind of came to a stop, and I had a YouTube channel with like 2 videos and 5,000-6,000 subscribers. And then I just figured, hey, that's all you got left at this point, COVID, nothing else was going on. So I just started making more videos, and 24 Hallenbeck was always something I wanted to do. And that was kind of the kickoff of the channel, really. And rest is kind of history. So took a long time to get here. I do not recommend to go full-time YouTube with 8,000 subscribers. But what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Flex Rocks and Rollovers, the name, the Facebook page, the Instagram page has been around for 12, 13 years now.
Oh, wow.
So I used to work in the music business. Grew up in Germany, worked in the music business. They have always been wheeling, even back in Germany since I was 4. Me and my dad always gone out wheeling all over Germany, Belgium, France, all that. And then eventually my dad moved to the United States when I was like 12. So then eventually I spent my summers here. We went to, from Moab to Tellico in Tennessee back in the days when that was still open, and did all that. And eventually when I was 21, got a job offer in New York City for working for a record label there, and including apartment and all that, and was like, dude, when do I ever get that chance again? Right. So jumped on that, moved to New York, and then kind of realized, dude, if you're not really passionate about the music that you're promoting, it's just another 9-to-5 job. And I just did not, like, at that point I was like, man, do you really want to do that for the rest of your life? And my Flex Rocks and Rollovers, the Facebook page, was started at that moment. So when I was in New York City, kind of having wheeling withdrawals, living in the big city, none of that. So I started a Facebook page and just kind of started sharing wheeling pictures and whatever. Back then, Facebook was, still, in baby shoes. So it was just pictures and memories from past wheeling trips, and kind of sharing just worldwide wheeling stuff that I could find. I was always really intrigued, not just obviously U.S. wheeling was always the main thing, but I was always really intrigued about worldwide stuff. Like I always like the stuff that they do in Malaysia with Rainforest Challenge, or, back in Europe, Australia and whatnot. So I try to always kind of include all of that. And, but without even really knowing that that's something special, I guess. Like for me, like wheeling was always kind of a global thing, because I started in Europe, then in the US. So I always kind of had my eyes out for that. Started the Facebook page, and within 18 months being in New York City, that Facebook page got like 25-30,000 followers, which back then was huge, so I was like, dude, I got to do something with this. This might be like a cool opportunity. And that's kind of where it started, where the name got started. Then it was just a Facebook page, later an Instagram page, just to share pictures and, from personal wheeling trips, all the way to cool stuff that I found online. So when I started the YouTube channel, then many, many years later, I already had the name, already had the Facebook page, thought the name was cool, so kind of rolled with it. And that's how it started. And 24 Hallenbeck was literally started right off the gate. My very first YouTube video was, back then it was just called 24-hour trail ride or something, like
Sure.
you know, like it was just kind of a thing, and kind of a test version of what later became 24 Hell and Back. Just a year later, or a couple months later, we did the first official 24 Hell and Back in Kentucky. So
Very cool. And where are you based now?
now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, gotcha. Spent some time down in Georgia just recently, building
Yep.
some tracks down there.
All right, everybody. I want to give a quick shout out to CT Raceworks. CT Raceworks makes the baddest parts in the industry, including the parts that Kyle Chaney uses to win the 2025 King of the Hammers 4400 race. Now, if you would like to use those same parts, feel free to go over to CT Raceworks and use the Our Day Off discount code, and that will get you a 5% discount on your entire order at any time. So that's Our Day Off discount code upon checkout. Back to the show.
I had no idea that you were on the East Coast. I thought you were a West Coast guy.
Nope.
Interesting.
In the South.
Yeah. East, South.
Yeah.
Which is, better.
Yep. Yeah.
Step
I live just north of Atlanta, pretty much.
Gotcha.
In Marietta, Georgia. So,
Gotcha.
which is, pretty cool. Got lots of wheeling around me. Kind of a perfect split between city life whenever I wanted, but like, I live right on the Chattahoochee River pretty much. So
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on the river, tons of nature around me, and like within a 3.5, 4 hour driving radius, I got like 10 off-road parks to go to. So
Yeah, it's the
freaking
Mecca.
awesome. Yeah,
It's the
it
Mecca.
really is.
I lived in Tennessee for a little while and I loved it down there.
Dude.
It's so beautiful.
Some of my favorite wheeling by far. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite wheeling on the East Coast, and I've said this a bunch on the podcast, is Harlan in Kentucky.
Oh my God,
I love Harlan
awesome.
so much. Me and my friends have been going down to Harlan. So I'm northern Indiana.
Yeah,
I'm in Indiana.
I
so
saw that when you called me and phone.
Did you?
Like, okay, I thought you were
Yeah.
West Coast. So
yeah, nope. East Coast guy. Always have been. And we've spent a lot of time in Harlan. I can almost wheel the entire park without a map.
Yeah.
Just done it so much. Your Turn and Mason Jar and all those just killer trails. They're my favorite on the East Coast, at least. And there's plenty of other great ones too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But me and Chase have talked all week. This is his first time being here, and it's hard to go other places once you go here. Or like the wheeling of, like, we went to Hammers too. Race King of the Hammers all the time, and we did the podcast this year at King of the Hammers, and took him out on some trails. And it's just like, once you've done these difficult trails, it's hard to go back East Coast and do that. It just doesn't really
Yes
compare.
and no. Like, I don't know. I think East Coast wheeling can be just as hard as anything out here. Like, if you are in the vehicles that we wheel, obviously in your some rear steer moon buggy, whatever, then out here, yeah, you got, like, this is the mecca for that kind of style wheeling. But any kind of trail rig, trail buggy, drag axle cars, I think East Coast has, just as much, if not more, to offer in for the style of wheeling that I like. You know what I mean? So there's so much stuff in so many hidden places that people don't know about, that aren't off-road parks necessarily, or aren't as well advertised as a place like Harlan or Windrock or whatever.
Right.
Places that most people know. There's a lot of stuff out there,
Is
man,
it?
that is really, really cool and gnarly stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure you get to experience some of that stuff too, being, doing the YouTube, and you
Correct.
get to meet different people in different places, and they're like, hey, did you know about this? And I'm sure they show you some
That's
really
what it's
awesome
all about,
stuff.
exactly. And for 24 Hell and Back, like, the research trying to find the trails that make this format even work it's a lot. It's an all year thing, trying to find the next trail that is. I kind of pride myself in finding trails that are lesser known. Like, I usually never go to commonly known places until last year when we did the 35-inch tire thing. For that, I was like, okay, like, little rigs on iconic trails, we got to go to Hammers. Like, so that, therefore, that was different. But other than last year, every single 24 Hell and Back we've ever done was on trails that the majority does not know about, or were even private property, or were trails that we broke, or, a handful of rear steer rigs I've ever been on, also something that switched over the years. The first few years, we tried to find really, really hard Jeep trails, and at a certain point that swapped into, like, let's find rear steer buggy trails that are somewhat doable still in a drag axle Jeep, you know what I mean? So, like, that kind of flip-flopped over the years, and now, the bar has been set high, man, and, like, trying to find that next trail that fits that format, not only from the difficulty, but also from the scenery, which I think is super important if you want to make a video and you want to keep it entertaining for the eye. That is really, really hard. Also, always to find a contrast to the last one that, that not 2 years ever look alike. And then, again, we're for 24 hours. I want to, you never know, but I always want to try to make it possible to get as close as possible to that 24-hour mark and not overshoot it too far. And for that, ideally, it is usually a single trail. A single trail that has a start and a finish is usually around a mile long, maybe a little longer, and it takes us all of 24 hours. Granted, the media stuff takes up a lot of time, so that has to be encountered. But the last 5 24 Hallenbacks, we've finished within 20 to 15 minutes of 24 hours. So the one in
pretty good.
The one in Tennessee in 2024, the last door, like we got back to where we started, and literally as the last Jeep door shut, that all the timers on our watches went off. So
That's
it's
so cool.
completely on the dot. So
You almost couldn't even plan.
you
that. There's no way.
you cannot, and we don't. It is what it is, and everybody that's attending that knows that it's a 24 hour. Like the one thing I will never do is end way early. You know what I mean? Like I would not end 3 hours prior or whatever. Like
Sure.
it's always going to be something that will push. I'd rather go longer than end it way early. But last year we kind of tried something different with the whole 35-inch tire thing. Doing it in Johnson Valley and whatnot. Learned a lot from that one and enjoyed doing it. We'll see if we do one again. I'm probably not going to do another one like that right away. I'll keep it in my back pocket for if I find a place that's perfect for that.
That makes sense for it. Yeah.
In the Hammers, I mean, we've done some gnarly trails. I mean, we went up full of hate on the like on the actual trail line, not the bypass stuff. We went up King's Vito, and then we pretty much raced up Chocolate Thunder, where we lined up every single rig next to each other, and everybody went at once. So like kind of typical Chocolate Thunder fashion. But the post-production part of that was difficult, to say the least, to make that look entertaining, because like when we go out in these rigs or buggies or whatever, like the typical 24 Hallenbeck cars, it never does it justice to what we're actually doing. Right. Now you tone that down from, big rigs to rigs on 35s. It gets tricky to make that look entertaining, especially, all the especially on the Hammers, diff catchers all the time. You got to do some rock stacking, otherwise you're just pulling freaking cable the whole time. So between the rock stacking that we had to do every here and there, and just diff catchers, like there was a lot of cutting involved. Like when we saw the timeline later on, we were like, wow. So to make that look like we don't fake anything. It is what it is, whatever. But obviously in post-production, like we want to make it watchable. Like we don't,
Sure.
If somebody took 14 tries to make it up something, like we'll show you 1.5, 2 tries maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
show you a couple tries and then the actual making it all right.
Like otherwise you're gonna lose attention no matter what.
Right.
It's just gonna get old.
It seemed like that small tire challenge you guys did there at Hammers, it seemed like it was pretty good. I watched it through and it was good. Amber Slauson was killing it. I mean,
she was the star of the show.
She was the star of the show at that one for sure.
Yeah.
And as she usually is, really. I mean, she's out there killing it at Hammers all the time.
She's a badass, like straight up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She did really good.
She's got a good teacher.
Yeah. I still had to really now, having even more seat time in that little Toyota since then, I was still learning that Toyota, because
Sure.
all the trips we've done previously in the Toyota was more, East Coast, like milder trails. You know what I mean? It really wasn't super technical rock crawling. I've never had it on the West Coast till then, other than when I bought it. But and also learning wheeling a rig like that, and I started wheeling with a manual, but back in Germany in sand quarries and whatnot, so nothing technical, nothing hard. So really learning how to wheel a manual properly, and still figuring the rig out. Now looking back to it, it's I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But now, wheeling it in Moab every single day, doing pitch shit in it with 0 winch line, completely, smoked that entire trail in that little truck it's on 315 BFGs, whatever that equal, it's 33 and a half. At the time, I'm running it on 7 PSI, so it's probably a 30 at that point.
Yeah.
And on leaf spring, stick shift, etc., every handicap you can possibly think of. And doing Pritchett with it unassisted from start to finish,
That's pretty
this
cool.
was freaking and that's kind of when the ball dropped in my head. I was like, okay, I think I know and I know how to wheel this thing now.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had that feeling and that skill set, so to say, back when we did 24 Hallenbeck. But it is what it is. It's always a progression. Never claim to be, the best, greatest, whatever. It's a learning curve. It's a constant learning curve. And that's what I enjoy. And that's why I keep, I've been doing this for a long time, not just YouTube, but wheeling in general, to keep that entertaining and to keep that, to keep myself passionate about what I'm doing. I need to get myself into these situations where I'm kind of, I got to figure stuff out. That's kind of what the channel has developed into, no matter if it's wheeling a rig that I'm not familiar with or going overseas and spending 10 days in the jungle with Will somewhere in Malaysia and have, trying to figure my way out there. So they're like putting ourselves into these uncomfortable, weird situations is kind of our thing at this point, and like I said, again, wheeling a rig that I'm not 100% familiar with, in terrain that's way above the vehicle's skill set. That's what it's all about for me, to keep me excited about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've always told everybody my favorite type of wheeling is the wheeling where you're not sure you're going to make it back.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff I love. And I've even got my little JK, and it's just stock axles. It's a Rubicon, so it's got lockers, but I just threw some sticky side-by-side tires, some 37-inch Rockzillas, and I tell you what, that thing wheels.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, and the nice part is I'm not afraid to damage it. I'm not worried about body damage or anything. I'm not trying to destroy it, but at the same time, I'll send it up, whatever.
Same with the Toyota, exactly same concept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. And I've had such a good time. I've been wheeling in Moab in this Jeep and my dad's YJ and whatnot, probably 15, 16 times at this point, so I've been on every trail. I've done every trail a million times. I know the lines. I know where to put my tires and something like this. So now doing it in a little Toyota, and it's like, okay, we're starting over.
Get a challenge back.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that was
exactly.
fun. Like I was telling everybody that too. I've had my buggy here last year, and it almost wasn't even a good time because the buggy you're doing the hardest stuff you can find, and it's just walking up for the most part, especially here. And then I took it to Sand Hot. Well, that was a little more fun.
Yeah.
There was definitely some more gnarly stuff there to do, but having the JK here this year, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, because it crawls really, really well, and it does things that it blows me away half the time when I'm crawling up stuff. And we haven't pulled cable yet. We haven't pulled cable yet.
Same here. I have not used the winch of the Toyota.
Yeah,
the entire
it does so good. I'm blown away at the setup of that, the way it is just stock. I mean, it has like a 2-inch lift and 37-inch stickies with beadlocks. Other than that, it's a stock Rubicon.
It's perfect. Yeah,
and it does great. So I'm excited about that. I like wheeling that a lot because it kind of brings that hard factor back where you can actually spin some tires and have some fun playing on
going back. The skill set you've acquired over all these years wheeling, now going back to something super basic is so much fun. And something I'm building a new car now that is going to be basically the difference between my little Toyota and this one. The new car that I'm building is this one to the new car is the same kind of difference. So way, way crazier than this one. And along the build, I was eyeballing, rear steer and this and that. And then is the name of the game really to build something that is, that just makes everything easy, and then good luck for and then only having to a few trails in the country really, or few places in the country to really push limits in that vehicle. Is that really the name of the game at that point? You know what I mean? So even though I'm building what in my opinion, or for myself is my next dream rig and what I always wanted, I opted out of rear steer for a reason, because it's and I'm also going with a body again. In this case, more of a shell than a body, it's a full tube chassis and whatnot, but it has a full body going all around it. Because it puts something on the line, what I mean? There's a risk to it. It's not about, for me, it is awesome riding a full tube chassis and not having any body, but at the same time, you have nothing to lose, nothing.
Yeah,
to lose.
nothing to worry about.
For me, that brings just extra adrenaline. You know what I mean? If something is on the line, you don't want to mess it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
some of my favorite wheeling has been in Jeep Cherokees.
Yeah.
And I've had a bunch of them. I started wheeling when I was in high school with my friends. I've been a dirt biker. I'm a dirt bike guy. Have been my whole life.
Yeah.
I raced dirt bikes my whole life until I was 22. And then, I've always had Cherokees and TJs and stuff like that. And we've built them up. I've had a couple TJs on tons and stuff like that. And I got into you always have the dream, right? You're always dreaming of a buggy. And then you get the buggy, the one I had here last year. And then it's just it's so cool, but at the same time, you're just driving around.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Good luck finding enough trails to keep you challenged for a while.
It's kind of a problem. You have to have one of each, right?
Yeah.
You have to have something really capable, a nicer buggy, something close to a rear steer. Maybe not even have to have it, but they're pretty capable
Yeah.
drag axle buggies out there now. You have to have like that, and then you have to have like a full body, and
Yeah.
you know, or you have to have like a side by side to get places quick.
Hey, exactly, and that's kind of what it is now with, you know, the little Toyota on tiny tires and leaf springs and manual, you know, to this thing,
Yeah.
to now the new car that I'm building. So
Are those DOTs on the Toyota?
yes, DOT, just 315 BFG KM3s.
Gotcha.
You know, even this thing is on DOTs now, you know, because we're getting more and more into extreme adventure wheeling, whatever you want to call it, you know, like where we have to combine trails and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I still have my reds at home on, you know, that I can put on here anytime it's needed. But yeah, I mean, these things have been pretty impressive.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, pretty impressed with them. Those are the Moab edition or whatever they're called. So they're a little bit softer than a regular DOT, but not as sticky. Kind of like what a Blue Label used to be.
Sure.
So super pumped about it, super happy. And like the new one, the tube chassis car I'm building is, you know.
Are you not letting any information out about
No,
that?
it's on the channel.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a bug. The body is from a 1950s Jeepster, so the original old two-wheel drive Jeepster, but full tube chassis, trailing arms, leading arms, 28 inches of wheel travel in the back, 20 in the front. Yeah, I mean, GM Performance LS3 race case, crane axle, 14 bolts front and rear. ADS internal bypasses front and rear. So
Did you get the cranes from Wide Open?
oh yeah,
Oh yeah. That I love their stuff.
Dude, like, you know, with big bell RCVs and like the big crane, like the big crane axles. So, like beefy stuff. So this is going to be it's you know, my interpretation of the next evolution of this, basically.
Yeah.
And it has, you know, drivetrain of a rock bouncer, pretty much, chassis of a Ultra 4 car, suspension of a trophy truck. It's kind of like
So cool.
and then a classic Jeep body around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has best of all worlds to me. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I've a buggy that's always been in my mind to build at some point, you know, like kind of like a dream buggy, is I'd like to take, basically envision like a JHF chassis or something, you know, something small like that, very small chassis, cone dodger, you know, something tiny, like a Halsey chassis, something of that nature. 4-wheel steer, so same thing, portal axles, 4-wheel steer. Get the buggy done, driving, running. But then I want to put like either like a Toyota truck body on it, or, you know, like some kind of older truck body
to give it some character.
To give it some character. So it's literally a 4-wheel steer, 2-seat buggy, but put a body on it, because I feel like that gives you, and you mentioned it earlier, it gives you like that character. You know, when you throw those bodies against rocks and stuff, and it's just scraping down, it's a whole different feeling.
It is,
than having just a tube chassis rather than this. Because like you said, there's no consequence.
One big thing I learned though, to the new one, this one, there's a lot of custom body work in this thing. Like the hood is stretched 10 inches. The, you know, fenders are completely, every body panel has been messed with and touched and modified.
Yeah.
On the new car, all we're doing is cutting. So like if I destroy the body, I'll just get another one, cut it the same way, put it back on. This is hundreds of hours of body work to get it back there. So I'm never going to do that again, because that gets annoying and gets old.
Well, and
really
you don't
quick.
want to destroy it.
No, exactly. And again, the new car, I want to wheel it in, you know, matching to its performance. So like it is probably gonna get, you know, dented and beat up. You know?
Nothing looks better than those like raisin looking Toyotas.
Yeah.
You know, like those old Toyotas.
It matches to that.
It's just the whole thing is just wrinkled, no windows. That's so much. That's so cool.
That's the biggest weak, as cool as this thing is to me, but like that's the biggest weak point, is that everything is so custom that it's a huge pain to replace anything. I can't just go to the junkyard and get another hood. You know, gotta get 2 hoods, merge them together, make this, make that. Like everything's there. Will always calls it the collectible, and it matches it pretty good.
Makes sense. That makes sense. It's a bummer wheeling a collectible. You know,
but that also
so
kind of
cool.
I think that's also something that people enjoy watching on our channel. Is like, you know, like I got way more, you know, skin in the game with this thing than, you know, somebody showing up in some beat up old Toyota or whatever. You know, like it just makes it extra scary to put it in gnarly situations.
For sure. So talk to us a little bit about this thing. And we talked about it off the pod a little bit, but give us a little rundown on what it is.
Well, yeah, she just turned 9 today, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, we got it done 9 years ago, and it's a 1973 Jeepster Commando. So for those that know anything about these cars, 73 means bullnose Jeepster. So this started off with a different front end. We converted it to the older style because, I've always been a Jeep guy, and those Jeepsters just don't look like a Jeep really. They look like a kind of a ugly Bronco.
Right.
So I wanted the older style Jeepster grill in it. Then the hood is stretched at 10 inches, like I said, custom built fenders. Then it's sitting on a TJ frame, or it's a TJ frame with a custom back half. Full RPM suspension under it. Really, really happy with that. That's something that Will did at Carnage Motorsports in Miami, beginning of last year, actually. Then some 2.5 Bierstein coilovers, 14-bolt axle in the back with 40 spline 300M RCVs, 35 spline 300M RCVs in the front, and a Dana 60 high pinion. 42-inch beef Goodrich KM3s. Full custom build. I mean, through and through. Those are pretty much the main corner points, like Tombo's drive shafts, Atlas transfer case. What else? That's pretty much it. Everything else is in this funky graffiti style cartoon paint job. Buddy of mine in Germany kind of blew up on social media doing this kind of stuff, and reached out to him, was like, hey, wrote my Jeep a couple of months ago. I live on the East Coast, starting to rust real quick, and then you can just see month after month it started to disintegrate more and more paint started to chip off, and I wanted to put something over it, but just to repaint it again red. I didn't want to get rid of the body damage. It's not worth it. It's going to get more. And that's why I kind of ducked this paint job, because you can kind of include it and kind of, paint around it and just make it part of the story of the Jeep. And so we did. So, yeah.
It's a really cool rig. We were looking at it when we were over at the show today. We went this morning and kind of took some pictures and stuff. We saw you there, and we were walking around the Jeep, and that's one comment that Jace made. He's like, "Oh, he's actually incorporated the dents, like the dent on the front of the hood. You've got the paint going around it. Yeah, it's a really interesting paint job. And the thing is now that I've seen yours, I've seen a bunch more.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of people.
It is, yeah. Like I hooked up Light Bright with the same painter. Like when I brought it, we unveiled it in Florida at Jeep Beach, and then ran into Light Bright. Brittany was following the guy that painted this Jeep on Instagram. Couldn't believe he was in the States. So we linked them up, made that all happen. Then he came back to the States, and we painted the Light Bright Jeep for SEMA. Then I guess 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago. So that happened. That was pretty cool. And ever since then, it's kind of been going around a little bit more.
It's been taking off for sure. I've seen more and more and more.
Yeah.
There's been a couple like drift cars too.
Yeah. I was definitely not the first one. I would never claim I'm the first one. There have been plenty of people before me, especially overseas. Again, the guy in Germany did this. He flew over here and did it, and I like it. It hides some dents. It kind of gives it some character. It was a cool fresh up, So
yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot.
One thing I forgot, it's got a 6.1 Hemi in it. So So a lot of people think it's LS. It's not. It's got an older 2008 6.1 liter Hemi SRT8 in it, and
I did not know that. I could have swore it was LS swapped.
Nope. It's a Hemi.
Don't see too many Hemi swaps.
Won't ever do it again.
Really?
Yeah, no, not for a wheeler. It's a cool motor. Don't get me wrong, but back then I wanted to keep it all mobile and whatnot. I thought it was cool, and I got a good deal on the motor back then. But they don't like to be upside down, man. It's not a very upside down friendly motor, and like when I rolled it, motor blew up immediately. So that was a kind of a nightmare. And then getting parts for a motor that was only built for a few years was also not easy.
Yeah.
And if you get one used, like the people that ran cars with that motor weren't easy on them. So like they're usually all trash. So you got to rebuild them and whatnot. So it's not like, hey, let me just get some new parts. And we pulled all 16 spark plugs. Kind of cranked all the oil out of the motor after we got it back on its feet. Until nothing came out anymore, and waited a couple more minutes, started it up. Was smoking for a little bit. As soon as I put it in reverse, pretty much all the oil that was, in the Hemi intake, it has the hemispherical intake, so it has all these crazy chambers and this crazy stuff going on. And as soon as I put it in reverse, that oil rushed back down into the cylinders, and bam,
locked it up.
Yeah, locked it up and completely exploded one cylinder. And that was kind of a nightmare session there, and
That's a bummer.
Yep, that's a bummer. Now I know what to do. I mean, it's a pain in the butt, but if I roll this thing, I'm just not going to start it. You literally have to drag it on the trail, take the whole intake off, take the plenum off, and drain all the oil out. And even that, like, you really got to spin it and spin it and spin it and spin it until eventually the oil gets out. And I got a spare a spare gasket and whatnot with me in the twin ones at all times. So like, knock on freaking wood, that won't happen again. But I at least know what to do now. But like, yeah, good motors, great motors for street driven rigs, I guess. But like for a rock crawler, in this sense, I don't know how the 6.4s react to it or the newer models. No experience in that. But the 6.1 does not like to be upside down.
Gotcha. Well, noted.
Yeah.
Noted. So what's next? Like what's coming up?
So Will and I just got back from Sweden. We did a 3-week long, well, the whole trip was 3 weeks, but the main event for us was a 5-day snow wheeling adventure through the wilderness of Sweden. And yeah, you guys can get excited for that one. That was freaking wild.
Awesome.
We bought a extremely cool, very unique vehicle over there. Yeah, you'll see that in the video. I don't want to spoil it yet, but we bought something really cool, spent 2 days modifying it, getting it ready for the trip. And I have a buddy that lives over there that kind of put a route together in a little group, and yeah, just went snow wheeling through Sweden, saw the northern lights, went ice fishing, ate all kinds of crazy Swedish food, from reindeer tacos to I don't even know what else. Like, yeah, that's it. It's a bunch of cool stuff. Minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, cold, 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 cold. Will is from Miami, Colombian from Miami, so like,
He was
he was just dying. So, I mean, I was cool too. I'm not going to lie, but like, it was a really cool adventure, really, really cool adventure. So, and just, never been to Sweden before. So that was cool. And did a bunch of other stuff afterwards. Went ice drifting, and first we went wheeling in an off-road park near Stockholm with a bunch of locals, pretty much subscribers actually, and they let us drive their rigs and whatnot, and had a really good day there wheeling. And then a couple of days later, those same rigs showed up, but they swapped the 40-inch stickies out to little 30-inch tires with spikes, and we went to a frozen lake and went ice drifting. And Will got a background in drifting too, so eventually they threw him the keys, and we went sideways on Toyota FJ40s with spicy LSs and on leaf springs, but like,
that's
it went
cool.
completely sideways over a frozen lake on those things, and just had a freaking blast doing that.
So much fun.
So like, that whole Sweden trip was just epic, and like, that is coming. So we're working on that right now. Last October, I went to Borneo, Southeast Asia, did the Borneo Safari, one of the greatest trips I've ever done in my life, like one of the craziest adventures. And we still have some we call them now side quest videos coming out from that, kind of going into those jungle cars and how they built the cars over there, and PTO winches, portal axles, like just rigs built for the jungle, and how they build them, and visited a couple of shops over there and kind of go a little bit more into detail on that. So that's still coming. Then we did a bunch of really cool stuff here in Moab, again, Toyota content, since, this thing was pretty much sitting in the parking lot the whole time. So got some really cool Toyota wheeling videos around Moab coming out. And then, yeah, now it's Friday today?
Yep.
Sunday morning, we're going to head out and drive to Montrose, Colorado. And then this thing is going to get its adventure time. And Will and I and a couple other friends, we're going to do a hell and back adventure in Montrose, Colorado for 4 days, and just wheel and camp and live out of the rigs. Super simple camping setups, just carry whatever we can carry in these rigs and wheel all the hard trails in Montrose. And, whenever we can't no more, pop up a hammock, get some sleep, continue the next day.
Very cool. I mean, that's the dream.
That's like that's what I really live for nowadays, that style of wheeling, like for the first couple of years of the channel. I loaded this thing up on a trailer, drove to the next off-road park, beat the snot out of it, loaded up a broken rig, drove back home, a couple of hours just to get a video out for some reason. And like, it was always just, I don't want to say it was pointless, but it was like, it didn't have that extra, it didn't have that adventure spirit,
Sure.
And now hitting really hard trails, camping in between, and just not even knowing where we're going to be the next day, and just like leaving everything kind of open. And like, it's a true adventure. Like, the things that we do now is like, we really identify ourselves more of an adventure off-road channel than a rock crawling channel. It is hardcore rock crawling, but the adventure is way more important at this point than the rock crawling. Nature of the beast, and Will and I are both adrenaline junkies. Like, we don't pick boring trails, but all the stuff we hit is gnarly stuff. But we try to create really cool routes from one day we're hanging 15 feet up in the air in some crazy obstacles, super off camber, about to flip these things. And then, a couple hours later, we do a river crossing where water comes into the rig and we start floating down the river and drifting sideways and combining all of these elements, what I mean? So that's really what we're all about at this point. And then the international trips, luckily, I feel so blessed and so thankful for our community to support this and watch this. But the international trips are just the coolest thing ever. Like being able to combine traveling the world, seeing the world with four-wheeling, like it does not get any better.
I mean, it's the dream.
Yeah.
You get to do what you love for every day, as your job. I mean, how cool is that? That's what everybody wants.
Absolutely. It took a long time to get here, but yeah, we finally figured out the recipe.
It's a grind. I mean, it's a learning, like you said in the beginning, it's a learning curve every single time. That's same with this. That I didn't start doing podcast. I'm a racer.
Yeah.
I've been racing for many years. I've been racing side by sides at Ultra 4 and King of the Hammers and GNCCs for 10 years now. And wheeling all over the country in full-size rigs and side-by-sides as well. So it's a constant learning curve. And this was never a plan. Like I started the podcast just with my friends in the garage, just hanging out. And then, it kind of started getting a little bit of traction, and I had to start doing video and like make it to the next level.
You're doing it right, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're doing it right. Absolutely.
Well, and having people like you on here is really cool for me personally, just because, you're a guy that is in the off-road community, and I've watched all your videos for so many years because I'm an enthusiast. I seen Rick Payway at the event today, and I was like, oh man, there's Rick.
Yes.
So, that's like always been very sure.
Yeah, as well. Absolutely.
It's so cool seeing you guys and seeing what you're doing and helping the sport too. I mean, that's probably one of my bigger passions at this point. Is I feel like there's been like a stigma almost put on it, where there's just so much regulation now, and like people are worried about the land use and all this crazy things that are going on. It's just like, I want to bring Miles Hasselquist's up there giving me the finger. And I just want to like bring the community together, bring all these people like yourself on, like talk about what you're doing, talk about how we can help you. Like what do we need to do to keep this sport alive, bring the next generation. And, my kids are getting older now. I'd love to get them involved and get them out wheeling and I'm also becoming more passionate about the, adventure wheeling, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily want to do like overlanding.
No,
I like the hard trails. I don't have any
extreme overlanding, so to say. Like rock crawling with camping. Like overlanding is also not my jam. But yeah, rock crawl, like extreme wheeling with camping. You know what I mean?
That's
not having the option to like, I got a noise somewhere, I'm going to load it up on the trailer. Not giving that option, having to figure it out because we're hundreds of miles in the middle of nowhere somewhere. That's the thrill about that. And yeah, what you're saying, like same for me, man. I'm an enthusiast first. I'm an off-roader first. YouTube came way later, and that is, I'm not making videos to make a video. I'm trying to plan the most badass adventure I can think of, and we're filming that. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh man, let me think about this crazy video concept that I can. No, it's never been like that, and it probably should be. Like on a business standpoint, it's probably not the smartest thing, and it's always a gamble. Does it work? Does it not work? But I've learned about myself, if I am not 1,000% passionate about whatever I'm doing, I can't make a good video. I can't be myself, and I'm just not going to have a good time. You know what I mean? So like we always push the limits, bring ourselves in crazy situations, and try to bring awareness to all of this. And like, obviously also try to represent the South or the East Coast a little bit. And like, man, I've been wheeling for such a long time, and like I have never met a West Coast person on an East Coast trail. But yet I go to the West Coast, and I feel like half the people I come across are somewhere from the East Coast, you know. And I really want to put that out there, that the big rumor that all the East Coast has is mud, and like that is not true. And we got some gnarly wheeling out there, and we got some beautiful landscapes, and like I really like that's kind of been my little side quest over the years, to kind of hold up the flag for the East Coast and for the South especially. To that, I like there's some good stuff out there, and like we have I'm sure there's also some land regulation issues, etc. But like I feel like we have more places opening up than closing. Like I feel like every year, especially again, I have to do a lot of research on trails for these 24 Hellenbeck style events and whatnot. And there's always something new every year that I'm trying to, this place has opened up, or private properties that are turning into off-road parks, or, even like, you know, nature resorts that all of a sudden open up off-road trails on them and whatnot. Like that's it's a really, really cool development. Some states that are like West Virginia, for example, that's pushing four-wheeling super hard right now, opening trails right, left, and center. So like that's something really, really good for the community. And I feel like sometimes we're also getting a little bit too stuck and beat ourselves up a little bit too much about, you know, trails are closing, trails are closing. It's really just a handful of states where that's an issue, you know.
Right.
Everywhere else, like in the true four-wheelers, true off-roaders take great care of these places. You know,
Sure.
unfortunately, there's certain sub-communities, whatever you want to call it, that may not, without, you know, calling anybody out here, but like,
Right.
for the most part, the places where it's mostly full-bodied vehicles or like, you know, big tire cars, like those places are clean. Those places don't have the issues that they get shot.
There's a certain demographic that we're not naming them. We're naming them.
Correct. So, you know, it is still super crazy important to take care of all of the trails all around the country and learn trail etiquette and, you know, be a good person. Just don't be a dick and like clean up after yourself. And
it's pretty self-explanatory.
Exactly. Even if it's not yours, just freaking pick it up. You know what I mean? Don't go off trails. Don't cut new lines. Like all that stuff. Like, you know, I try to educate myself as good as I can before I go somewhere. Okay, like what are the rules here? You know what I mean? Like it's super laid back and easy in the South, but like once you come out west, you know, can't do this, can't do that, can't camp, can't do bonfires, can't blah blah blah. And I totally respect that, and I understand more and more why. You know, like I kind of stepped into a little pile there when I went to the Rubicon Trail, and I didn't mean, that was never meant to be, you know, something mean or anything, but like we did Fordyce first, so spent a couple of days in Fordyce, loved it. Came from Fordyce to the Rubicon, everybody hyped up the Rubicon all these years. I don't want to say I was disappointed, but for me, it felt like an off-road theme park. Like I drove in there and there are like reflectors on rocks so you don't hit them. And there are like solar lights that come on at night, and there's concrete bridges going over stuff and porta potties on every corner. It felt like an off-road theme park. Then again, you know, got a little bit of crap about that in the comments, and like, dude, like this place is so busy, so many people go there. If that wouldn't be there, A, the place would be gone, B, you would probably step in shit every time you walk around a tree, like, you know, all that stuff. You know, good point, totally understand, take that back, you know, like just kind of spoke in the moment because that was the vibe that I was feeling in the moment, but totally it's just like was my impression of the trail. Also, my mistake for bringing this on a Rubicon Trail in my head was like, it's a Rubicon Trail. It's the most iconic Jeep trail. Got to take my Jeep. Should have taken the Toyota. Would have had a way better time probably. And I feel like Fordyce is so freaking epic that it kind of makes you blind for that then, because you've kind of seen the supersized version of that just a few hours ago or a day ago, you know? So definitely want to do it again. Definitely want to come back. But next time in a flat fender or my Toyota or something really basic, and I guarantee you I'll freaking have the time of my life, you know? So
I've heard nothing but good things about the Rubicon. I've never been, and it's one that's on the, you know, the bucket list. Right? And I've talked to so many different people about it. And Bob Sweeney, you know Bob? Bob does like the
so bad with names.
Rubicon Jeep Jamboree. Yep. That's Bob.
I know that group. So
and I've talked to him quite a bit about it, and my biggest question is like, is it really that hard? And his answer to me is no. The Rubicon is not super crazy hard. It's just that iconic, that iconic trail that's like proven the Jeeps, you know, that's why they get the stamp, you know, the Jeep gets the badge of honor of, you know, the Rubicon.
That's why the Rubicon is like, they named the vehicle after that, you know, so no, completely understand. It's definitely still super epic, and
and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I really enjoyed Fordyce. Like, I really, really enjoyed Fordyce. What a beautiful trail. I thought, like, landscape-wise, it can totally keep up with Rubicon Trail, and it just feels a little bit more raw, a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah.
A little bit, you know, good wheeling in it.
You're not the first one to tell me that.
Yeah.
There's the guys that live out there. John Goodby lives out there close to that. He runs Ultra 4 now, and same thing he said. He said, Rubicon's great. It's a fun thing to do. Just say you did it. He said, but Fordyce is...
Yeah, and bring something basic. Don't bring your most built rig in the fleet. You know, bring something basic, and you'll have a great time.
Yeah, something you can have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but it's always cool. It's so pretty. It almost looks like it's fake. It's so
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. So and
We get
people,
that out here too.
yeah, oh, absolutely. Moab has, Moab is definitely right there with it. And like, people always ask, like, Moab, why do you still go to Moab? Why do you go to Moab every year? Come to Trail Hero. Nothing against Trail Hero. Love the event. Love everything around it. Love what Rich is doing. For me, just Moab again has that adventurous feel to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I never get tired of the scenery here. Like it is,
Yeah.
and every year it's a new experience. I can come here 100 times in a row. I never have one trip being anywhere near the last trip. It's always a new experience. It's always amazing. And is it the hardest wheeling? Absolutely not. But it keeps you on your toes. It's nice. It's entertaining. And again, now learning to bring a small tire rig on leaf springs and stick shift, and all of a sudden it's pretty hard wheeling.
Yeah, it made it fun again.
Yeah, exactly.
Made it fun again.
Exactly.
Listen, it may not be the hardest wheeling,
No.
but it has some risk.
Yeah.
Like the
dude.
cliffhanger. I've
Dude.
never done cliffhanger until this trip, brother. When we were dropping down that obstacle there on the ledge, the last obstacle before you kind of have to turn around and come back. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, totally did it. It was no big deal. We did it with a group of Team Indiana guys from Ultra 4. And we had an absolute blast. But when you pull around that corner and you're just looking out over that valley on that cliff, my goodness.
It feels like you're looking down on mountains. Like that's how I be up. Like, same with Moab Rim. We did a night, like a sunset ride up Moab Rim last night, and like that, I've done it a million times. It's not a hard trail, but it catches you out every single time, man. It's not easy, So, no, dude, there's so much great wheeling in the country and so many cool places, and like so much like. Man, the United States is such a off-road mecca,
Yeah.
You have every imaginable scenery, every imaginable terrain, all in one country, know. So I can only encourage you guys, travel, put your stuff on a trailer, check out a few states further than where you live. It is so worth it. And like, wheeling places you haven't been to, not knowing what happens around the next corner, not knowing the trails, not knowing the lines, not going with people that are super experienced in that particular place, and just explore, man, merging a little bit, without going back to it, but merging the mindset of overlanding a little bit with the hardcore wheeling that we're doing is just like, I don't know, kind of, it just boosted my passion for the sport even more.
Yeah, and then you get to go to places that not a lot of people get to go to. You're traveling on trails and going to places, remote places that average Joe will never go there.
No.
You're seeing things that a very minute amount of people have been to.
Yeah.
Even here, we haven't done it yet, but there's a couple trails where you can go and see the petroglyphs, carved into the walls and stuff back, who knows how old they are.
Yep.
It's just a really, really cool place here particularly, and everywhere. Like you said, I went wheeling one time up in Pennsylvania, and they've got some amazing, very, very difficult trails, and the rocks are like knives.
One of the places I'm looking into for this year's Hallenbach.
Is it?
Yeah,
Good.
Pennsylvania's on the list of places.
Pennsylvania is impressively hard.
Yeah.
There's I only went one time. But Ultra 4 races in Pennsylvania, and it's tough.
They got rock crawling competitions, X-Rock and whatnot. I don't know if it's still going on. I think it is, may not, I don't know. But X-Rock, really hardcore rock crawling competitions, rear steer moon buggies and whatnot, really, giving it the onions over there, and it's gnarly. And they have quite the selections of parks and trails and whatnot. And we've done AOAA there. I mean, the Mammoth Trail, even though it's man-made, but dude. Like, you look at this, all the way, like, you'd see nothing but vehicle-sized boulders all the way to the horizon. Like, I mean, it's unimaginable until you stand at the entrance of that trail and you're like, oh, this can't be real. Like, and like, everything moves, every rock is loose, and they're literally the size of the Jeep, and the freaking holes are even deeper. It's not just about climbing up, it's also avoiding to fall down, and then good luck getting out of there. Like, crazy, crazy stuff. There's a lot of really cool places, man. In my opinion, again, like, the East Coast has so much wheeling that people aren't aware of. I mean, damn, we did a freaking 24 Hallenbach in New Hampshire. Who thought that New Hampshire has hard wheeling? Field and Forest Off-Road Park in New Hampshire. You drive off, like, as soon as you cross the parking lot into the woods, you're in trouble right away.
Really?
Like, the access trails require 35s or 37s, winch and lockers front and rear. That's just the access trails. You know what I mean?
You're going to have a good
Yeah. So tons of places in the country that really, really will show you who's boss. Like there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool to hear. I love what you guys are doing. Your videos are top notch. You're killing it. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Keep doing what you're doing. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. I don't want to drag the time out too far for you. I know you got a lot going on, and I think we're gonna have your other buddy on here too, and get a chat with him.
Sounds good.
So,
Thanks for having me, man. Super pleasure.
Yeah.
You're doing what you're doing.
Thank
This
you.
is definitely, I think our community needs something like this, you know.
I hope so.
Like, especially I like that you also have the video part of it. It just, I don't know, adds a little bit something to
Yeah.
it. And just, you guys doing it right, man. I hope you shoot it to the moon. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And we're gonna continue to push. And like you said, it's a labor of love. It takes a lot of time, but
Yep.
we're gonna keep doing it. I like doing it. I love talking to guys like you. And it's nice to just sit down and have a conversation, you
Yeah.
know, and we might as well just talk on camera, and it benefits everybody. So,
Exactly.
I love it. Well, Marvin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Flex Rocks and Rollovers. Go follow all his stuff. 24-hour Hell and Back. Follow that too. Make sure you watch them. They're awesome. They do some of the hardest, craziest trails in the country. They're amazing. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.